You're listening to My Kind of Country right here on mkocradio.com. My guest tonight, you've already heard some of his songs. I've been playing him quite a bit on the show, and I was really impressed to learn that this is his debut album. He has never put out an album before, and I'll tell you what, this is a polished, good, traditional country music album, and it's called Somewhere West of Laramie, and I'm so glad to have him with us tonight to talk about it. This is R.J. Daniel. R.J., how you doing tonight?
Pretty good, Scott. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
It's my honor to have you on the show. I really, really like what you've done, and I'm just blown away at the fact that this is your first album.
Well, I don't know what to say about that. I just never had the opportunity to make a record before, and the opportunity availed itself, and we made a record that we're pretty proud of.
Well, you should be.
That you enjoy it.
You should be. It's a great album, and it's just wonderfully produced, and the song selection's great. And right away you've got "Pass Me By" as the lead cut, and you got me right from that point, man.
Well, and that's been one of my favorite songs for forever. And I always thought if I ever made a record, I'd want to include that song in the record. So lucky enough we did, and I think we did a pretty nice job on it.
Well, that's great. Well, I know you've gotten a lot of attention from some different publications, and Country Music People magazine's done a feature on you. You've had some great chart action with 98.6 Degrees and Falling, and so the word's getting out there about your music, and I think that's cool.
Well, yeah, we're pretty happy about that. Like I said earlier to you when we were speaking on the phone, it seems the people in Europe have really responded well to it. It seems to. And there's a lot of really traditional country music fans in Europe, which there's a lot. We have a lot of traditional country music fans here in the United States as well. Just I don't think that particular market gets serviced very well certainly not by the majors nowadays. So it's the smaller labels that are turning out more traditional music. So for that audience,
you're absolutely right. It's I think it's to your advantage because you've got a record label. This is Red Mesa Records. They're right on top of it, man. They're sending out the albums, they're getting the word out there, and I think that when you're working with an independent like that, you get a lot more of attention given to you, and they're getting you out to the right markets. And I think it's really to your advantage.
Well, I think so. We're trying to service that market, and I've always kind of been the person, Scott, to believe that the pendulum is going to swing back anyway, because that's just the way things happen. Everything's in a state of flux, and things flow and change. And I know there's a lot of people that really enjoy traditional country music, and there just isn't that much of it that's available, like I say, compared to the major labels aren't turning it out. And I think that even if you see in Nashville now, there's a little bit of a movement towards more traditionally flavored stuff, the so-called bro country and that sort of thing. It's kind of going away, and you see like John Party and some other guys that are more traditionally flavored artists that seem to be making inroads in the charts and that sort of stuff. So I think the pendulum is starting to swing back the other way.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've noticed that. I've been down there a couple times this year, and I've noticed that there's a lot more places where you can go in and actually hear country music.
They're and it's been few and far between for a very long time.
Yeah.
I never understood. I guess there's a lot of theories about why it is that way, and of course it does have to do with radio business and the record business, and I don't know what they base their choices on. I know that it has something to do with sales, but I like I say, I told you earlier, I when I was in Nashville, I'd ask people, well, how come nobody ever just got in their truck and drove west and stopped at a cafe and asked the waitress what she liked to listen to? And nobody had an answer for me, because nobody would ever do that. They all use focus groups and whatnot, and that seems to run everything.
Yeah, well, it's a lot about marketing. It's a fad, but one of the things that gives this kind of music staying power, and it's very well evidenced with your album, is the songs. You've got some great songs on this album, and that's what's going to give your kind of music longevity.
Well, I think that's true. I mean, we have a couple of cuts on there that are written by the great Harlan Howard, and you can't go wrong with a Harlan Howard song.
You certainly can't. That's absolutely right. Well, before we get into talking about the rest of the songs on this album, give me a little bit of your background and how you got into the music business.
Well, I kind of came late to music. In one of the articles, I got interviewed by guys in England. They had asked me how I got started, And I hadn't really thought about it much before, but, I had seen really old footage of Doc and Merle Watson at the Newport Folk Festival.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember walking through the family room, the family home, and that was on PBS, and I didn't know who they were. I had no idea. And I was already about 21 or 22 years old. And they started to flat pick the fiddle tune, and it was just as if I was hit by a bolt of lightning, honestly. And I just thought, I have to learn how to play that stuff. So my background is, I started in bluegrass music.
Oh, okay.
I started old-time country and bluegrass, and actually while I was in college, I played in the bluegrass band. And I was pretty much involved in bluegrass music, but I always grew up around old-time country music. And I remember I was taking a trip. I was going through northern New Mexico. I just outside of Tucumcari, and I stopped at a place to eat. And they had an old jukebox with old records on it. And I remember somebody had put some money in the jukebox, and Merle Haggard's Silver Wing started to play. And it really got my attention. And I sat there, and while I ate, I listened to that, and a bunch of other older stuff was played. And it really got me curious and kind of got me interested again in the stuff I had been saturated with as I grew up. Because, in the family home, there was old-time country music. Well, it wasn't old-time at the time, I guess, but it was, traditional country music, western swing music, bluegrass, of course, different things like that. And I just decided I wanted to get more involved in the mainstream country music.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. So I started to learn songs, and I didn't just concentrate on the people that were popular at the time, but I went back, and I learned Lefty Frizzell and Farron Young and the real, which are my real heroes. I started there and kind of worked my way up. So that was how I kind of made the transition into the more traditional country, and it was the stuff I always loved. So as the newer things started to evolve, it never resonated with me. So I just never varied from what I sort of did. And that's why our record is what it is today, because for myself and the producer, this is the stuff we really liked, so that's what we wanted to portray on our album.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, tell me about 98.6 Degrees and Falling.
Well, it's I think it's a good example of what our idea was in terms of what the sound of the album was we wanted. That was also a song written by Harlan Howard, and I had heard a cut that a lady singer by the name of Jill King, I think was her name. She had done a cover of it, and I liked what she did, and we really liked the song, and when we were sitting down talking about songs for the album, and I said, well, what do you think about this? And he really liked the song, and we decided we were going to try it. Now, what we decided with this album was we wanted to do traditional country, but we wanted to do traditional country that had more of a modern production value, if you will. We wanted to do a record that was traditional in flavor, but we wanted to have the production value more modern in terms of, I wanted it to be in your face, I wanted it to be heavy with bass and heavy with drums, have the bottom, the bass and the drums really drive the music. And I think the 98.6 is a really good example of that, because we start a cappella. Me and Teresa James, who's just this great gal singer out in Los Angeles, and we hit that first line a cappella, and then the band jumps in, and then the bass just drives that song, and there's this counterpoint where it answers back and forth with the pedal steel, and then there's other instrumental breaks as well. But it's just, if you listen to that, you can really hear the bass and the drum drive that song. And that's kind of true of the tracks on the album. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted that bass and the drum just to drive everything and have everything kind of alternate and jump in back and forth with it. And I think that, like I say, we achieved the sound we were looking for, because it's traditional in flavor, but it's more, and I don't want to, polished isn't the word, but it's more in your face.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it. And the producer, I think he's just a brilliant guy, Joe Lockbrit, and our engineer, Charlie Sherwood, who also mastered the project, he's just a really talented guy. Oh, gee, I don't know, Scott. That darn album, it's just, technically, it was just outstanding.
It really is.
It really is.
It's a very well produced album. I was just blown away by the sound of it. And folks, I want to let you know you can visit rjdanielcountry.com. This is where you can get the album Somewhere West of Laramie. It's on Red Mesa Records, the little label with the big country sound. And you can catch RJ on Facebook, RJ Daniel Country, and of course you're on Twitter and all the usual suspects. The album's also available at Amazon and iTunes. And we're going to be playing a lot of the songs on our show. You'll get to hear those for sure. And there's a little bit of Western music, the title cut certainly, and then you've got a little Western swing on here with 5 minutes before as well. So there's a little something for everybody on this one.
Well, yeah, and it's really funny. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I kind of laughed at myself because that 5 minutes more was one of Frank Sinatra's first hits ever, and after we went in to do that song, I remember turning to Joel and saying, "I'm doing a Frank song? Am I out of my mind? what is the matter with me?" And he said, No, that's all right, go for it. So I did, but I just kind of chuckled about it because I was like, well, that's pretty optimistic. But I think it turned out well. I mean, people seem to like, and we also wanted to have a mixed bag on the album, and that's what we did. I mean, like you say, the title song certainly is a Western song that was written by a great cowboy singer-songwriter by the name of Dave Stamey. A friend of mine gave me the song on a record, and I just loved the song. And it was just Dave and his guitar, and I always thought that would translate so well to a full band, and I think I was right about it. We made it with a full band, and Joel did a great job with it, and then we have 5 minutes more. It's a Western swing song. We have a bluegrass song. Don't Mean Nothing to Me. We tried to, like I said, put an electrified version with a full band and a couple of ballads, and we'd like to say we got a mixed bag, and I can't say how much. I just can't tell you how happy we are about the outcome of the album. We're just really happy.
Well, that's fantastic, man. As well, you should be. It's a great album, and we're going to be playing a lot of them. I want to play "I Can't Drink Her Off My Mind." I think that's one of my favorites on the album too.
Oh, really? Now that was written. A friend of mine wrote that. The great Dwayne Blackwell, who wrote "Friends in Low Places."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of Dwayne's songs. He gave me that song. So.
Oh, that's great. I like that. I think that's probably my favorite cut on the album. I really do like that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
it's a neat song.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So, do you have some tour dates coming up, and what are your other plans for promoting this album, about getting out there and meeting the folks?
Well, we haven't firmed anything up tour-wise. We're hoping in the springtime of next year to go to Europe. That's what our plan is. That's what we're hoping to do. And previous to that, we may do a small tour in the western United States. So it all depends on how things shake out for us. And meanwhile, just we're talking to radio stations and publications and just doing the usual promotional thing that you do with these sorts of things.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we are very happy to get your music on the air, and I know my European listeners are going to love this. I think you'll be very well received over there, without a doubt.
Well, like I say, we've got some positive response over there already, and just happy to know there's that many people that enjoy traditional music.
You betcha. Well, rjdanielcountry.com is the website to visit, and you can read more about RJ and his career, and this is where you can pick up the album as well as on Amazon and iTunes. And make sure to go to Facebook and give him a like, and visit him on Twitter and all those great places. And we're going to play some of the cuts for you right now. RJ, I'm going to let you play DJ and play the next song here for us. What would you like us to play?
Oh, well, how about the title track, Somewhere West of Laramie?
All right, here it is. RJ Daniel, Somewhere West of Laramie. And go to rjdanielcountry.com, folks. RJ, thanks so much for being on My Kind of Country, and I hope you'll come back and visit with us again sometime.
Well, thanks, Scott. I appreciate it a lot. Thanks for having me. I'd be happy to come back and visit sometime.